Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars, the place where whispered secrets turn into full stories and where every unexpected confession becomes a headline in the world of Turkish entertainment. Before we dive into the revelation that shook the latest interview with Barış Baktas, make sure you subscribe, tap like, and hit the join button so we can keep bringing you the most intimate, carefully curated moments from the stars you follow. What started as a straightforward press event for a theater project suddenly shifted into something no publicist could have predicted. In front of a semicircle of cameras and microphones, Barış spoke thoughtfully about rehearsals, the discipline of the stage, and the thrill of returning to live performance. The tone was relaxed, the answers measured. That calm lasted exactly until one reporter carefully mentioned a name the room had not expected to hear, Yağmur Yüksel. The moment that name floated into the air, something in his demeanor changed. His gaze softened, a barely there smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, and a quiet settled over him before he spoke again. Then, with a pause that seemed to hold 1,000 backstage memories, he let a sentence slip that no one in that room will forget, that his feelings for Yağmur had never really left. In his words, simple and unguarded, "I haven't stopped loving her." Yağmur. Silence took over the press hall as though the room had been sealed shut. Journalists froze, lenses fixed and fingers ready over record buttons, not wanting to miss a breath, a blink, a single shift in expression. Seconds later, the world outside exploded. The clip raced through social platforms in a heartbeat. People replayed the same 8 seconds again and again, dissecting every micro-expression. Some said his voice trembled at the end. Others insisted that the way he looked down and then lifted his eyes spoke more than any sentence could. A trending phrase began to circulate, not because anyone launched a campaign, but because it felt inevitable, the idea that Barış had finally voiced what many suspected. To grasp the weight of that moment, you have to return to the beginning. Barış and Yağmur first stepped into each other's orbits on the set of a series that changed both of their careers. It was a job that came with long nights and early call times, shared silence between takes, and stolen laughter by the costume racks. Viewers saw a spark on screen that felt too vivid to be confined to fiction. Rumors followed them like shadows, glances that lingered a beat longer than the script dictated, hands that briefly touched even when the camera had already cut, a level of gentle familiarity people recognized without needing proof. Neither of them confirmed anything. They never denied it, either. Instead, they built a private world between them that only appeared in fragments, a shared umbrella in the rain between trailers, a rap party where they stayed in the corner talking while the music thundered, a sudden tightness in expression any time one of them was asked about the other. Work eventually did what work always does in this industry. It pulled them in different directions. There were new series, new contracts, new cities. The rhythm of their lives shifted. The distance grew in the spaces between commitments. Statements about their relationship never emerged, only a silence that felt deliberate, the kind of purposeful quiet professionals adopt when they're trying to protect something fragile. With time, the rumor mill moved on to other couples, other questions, other plots. And then, with one unguarded line at a press conference, everything rewound and played back in slow motion for an audience that had never stopped hoping. Hours after the interview, while the clip consumed every homepage, Yağmur posted a single image on Instagram, a monochrome photograph of a beach at low tide. The sand was empty. The horizon was blurred. The caption was brief and could have been about the sea, about memory, or about nothing at all. Certain truths arrive without witnesses. People who know her said she needed a moment to take in what she'd heard. They spoke of surprise, yes, but also of appreciation, because the timing was real, and the sentiment was sincere. No dramatics. No theater. Just a woman seeing her past reflected in the glare of 1,000 screens and deciding to answer without answering. That one line from Barış set off a series of conversations in rooms where television futures are decided. Producers texted producers. Executives called talent managers. Some streaming platforms floated initial proposals, just exploratory, for a joint project that would reunite their names on the same credit card. A marketing veteran we spoke with framed it perfectly. They already have the makings of an epic in the public realm: passion, distance, the ache of what might have been, and now a confession that nobody saw coming. In an industry that thrives on myth-making, this one didn't have to be invented. Meanwhile, fans split into camps, each with its own pulse and temperature. For some, it was proof that romance still has a place in the brutal calendar of show business. They saw a brave man willing to step out from behind careful phrasing. "This is honesty," wrote one follower. "This is what it looks like when pride is less important than truth." Others cautioned against spinning daydreams into plans. They reminded everyone that love and partnership are not the same thing, and that the story two people share is theirs to write, not ours to script. There were longer threads that mapped out possible timelines, paired dates with past interviews, and cross-referenced sightings as though solving a puzzle whose final image no one had fully seen. As the conversation spiraled and then steadied, Barış issued a careful note on his own social profile. It was grounded and gentle, clearly meant to calm the waters without erasing what he had said. He acknowledged that sometimes feelings step forward before a person gives them permission. He added that he holds immense regard for the past, for shared roads and lessons learned, and that he sincerely wishes well to those who helped shape who he has become. He didn't retract a single thing. He didn't need to. The confession had already carved its place in the public imagination. And this is where the real question lies, the one that doesn't fit into a soundbite. Was it a momentary crack in a well-maintained wall? A wistful touch of nostalgia that felt larger than it was because 100 microphones were waiting? Or was it the first line of a chapter still unwritten, a sign that the thread that once connected them never snapped but simply became harder to see? People who prefer simplicity want a yes or a no, a reunion announcement or a formal goodbye. But hearts rarely work that way, especially hearts that learn to beat under studio lights. If you've followed their journey long enough, you might remember the small things. The way he once paused on set after a scene ended, still holding the emotion of a conversation they pretended to have. The way she always noticed if the lights were too harsh and asked to move a few steps to the left so his eyes wouldn't squint. The laugh they shared at a microphone check, far away from the scripted banter, real enough that the sound engineer smiled without looking up. These aren't proof of anything except a kind of ease that professionals rarely find and never forget. Which is why that single sentence hit with the force of something familiar. From the perspective of the industry, a reunion project makes almost too much sense. You don't even need to write a complicated log line. Two people meet again after taking different paths, and the past returns with them. The chemistry is already established in the public mind. It just needs to be typed into a script. But there's a difference between screen magic and the daily work of being together when the cameras are sleeping. Those who have seen both versions say that what unfolds off-set is harder and braver than anything captured by 3 angles and a close-up. Back in the digital agora, communities broke down the confession into frame-by-frame analysis. Some pointed out the ring of his voice, describing an almost audible pull backward. Others emphasized the measured language in his later clarification, a careful balance between emotion and responsibility. There were threads that praised Yağmur's beach post, calling it elegant, layered, and firm, a way of acknowledging the storm without stepping into it. A few wondered whether she had been ready to hear those words spoken in such a public arena, or whether private conversations might have been kinder. But life doesn't always offer ideal timing. Stories sometimes spill on the table right where the world can see them. Insiders close to both sides insist that there's no game being played here. What happened in that room wasn't a planted headline or a coordinated strategy. It was just a person answering a question and finding his truth on the surface when he didn't plan to. Maybe that's why the reaction was so intense. Audiences can sense the difference between a line rehearsed in the mirror and a line that surprises the person speaking it. The next few days will tell us more than any panel or poll. If the two agree to consider a shared project, it will be because they choose to, not because the internet wrote a script for them. If they prefer to let the past be a closed chapter, that choice will deserve the same respect as any reunion, because moving on with grace is also a form of courage. It's entirely possible that the truth lives somewhere in between, that the on-screen version might return before the off-screen version even has a chance to try. For now, we have a confession, a photograph, and a city's worth of speculation. We have executives arranging quiet coffees, eager to hear the words, "We'll think about it." We have fan accounts clipping interviews from eras that already feel like history. We have two artists who know how loud the world can get when it decides a story belongs to everyone. And we have a line that refuses to fade, not just that he cares, but that he never stopped. So we ask you, as always, to tell us what you see in this moment. Do you believe that spark can be coaxed back into a flame? Would you welcome Barış and Yağmur back on the same set, trading lines and glances that turn into the kind of scenes people watch on repeat? Do you, secretly or openly, wish that what they once had might find its way back when the lights are off and the doors are closed? Or do you think the bravest ending is sometimes the quietest, the one where each person walks forward with gratitude and without regret? Leave your thoughts below, and let us know which other stories you want us to uncover, which questions you want asked in the rooms where cameras don't go. Keep your notifications on, because the next step could arrive without warning: a meeting turned into a dinner, a friendly message that reads like a prologue, a photo that appears and disappears before the comments have time to load. And if something does happen, you can trust that we'll be the first to tell you what it means and why it matters. Thank you for spending this moment with us on Secrets Behind the Stars. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel by pressing the join button. Until the next twist from the radiant heart of Turkish show business, we'll be here, listening carefully for the echoes of a love story that refuses to be quiet.